Shy Bairn's getting out. So if you don't ask, you don't get.
I'm definitely not a shy bairn. Look at his eyes. Right, Sheila, you all right if we just crack on? Or do you want to have a wee chat first?
Crack on.
Right, because I record right from the start, but sometimes people want to have a little chat and sort of get to know each other before we crack on with the podcast.
Get to know each other, all cozy and stuff. Yeah. Isn't that nice? Isn't that so cute?
Right then, okay.
We'll get to know each other on the actual thing.
Definitely, that's the way I think. It's more genuine then, isn't it? So
isn't it? Yeah.
We're having a chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. We'll get going. Folks, I'm a wee bit rusty at this, to be honest. I've not done a podcast in about 2 months now, have I? I think the last one I did... Oh, gee whiz, when was the last one that I did? I think it was the Gorilla Biker, right at the start of the year, and then I haven't done one since. So, folks, welcome back to Brew Time. This is episode 78, and we have Gus Dixon, Man Cave Makings.
Hello, everybody. For those that may not see the face, but see the voice, or hear the voice and don't know what the face looks like, here and there. No, it might not sound it, but Gus and I are pretty much from the same sort of neck of the woods, really, aren't we? Well, yeah, Aberdeen kind of area is ish. But you're
whereabouts are you like, or where are you from originally?
Well, now here's the big bone of contingency, because I'm not originally from Aberdeen.
Are you not?
No, I'm not actually a born and bred Scot either.
Oh wow, what?
Yes, I know. Revelation 101. I mean, 2 seconds into the podcast.
That's it. Cut. Get him off.
Right, get him off. He's done here. Yeah, so I came to Aberdeen when I was awfully wee. So I've been in Aberdeen all my life, all of my memorable life anyway. So I class myself very much as Scottish. I've been here all my life, but I was actually born in Newcastle. So,
right.
So a Geordie by birth only, a slight grazing past as I left, headed north with the family, and we've been here ever since. So I've brought up all my family here, and so yeah, I've been here a long time.
All right, so you're still up in the northeast. I wasn't sure if you'd moved away or
no, still here, still in the old Blue Tune. Oh well, no, Blue Tune's slightly northeast. That's
near where I'm from. Yeah.
That's Peterhead. That's proper dark stuff. But
I'm from in between Peterhead and the Broch, Fraserburgh. I'm from Mintlaw.
Oh, you're from the Mintlaws. I was out there not long ago picking up a ladder. Never mind. Seriously. But yeah, Mintlaws. Yeah, that's fighting territory. That, what I mean? That's right in there.
There's nothing there. Do you know?
Contract sport bars. That's about it.
Mintlaw, for those not in the know, Mintlaw comes. I think the original name was Mintlach. I think it's part. Is it Gaelic or Doric or whatever it is?
Norse, probably.
Probably is, yeah. And it means flat, boggy land. That'll give you an idea what what my home village is.
That's actually pretty accurate.
Definitely. Right, folks. Man Cave Makings. Well, Gus, you sort of came on my radar, not on YouTube originally, but through Instagram. Through sort of lockdown, it was all your Instagram stories of these incredible things that you were making. And by making, I mean like properly making, fabricating. You were welding, you were doing carpentry, joinery, you were doing all sorts and just creating these stunning works of art. The level of detail you go into is just, it's incredible. I mean, what is it all about?
You'll make me blush here, you know what I mean? You can't have to say it to the grind here, but thank you very much. That's a wonderful thing. It's a lovely thing to say. Thank you.
But it's the passion you've got for it. It just spills over, through you and your content. And you can't help but just look and think, oh my God, I want to do that. That's something I want to be able to do. It's amazing. How'd you get into it? I mean, is that your sort of work background, or is this just a hobby which you've got an incredible gift for, or what is it?
So yeah, I'm really glad that you're my passion comes out and across in screen and all the rest of it. Because me looking in from outwards, you're always like, you're thinking to yourself, the amount of content I've deleted because I always think it's way over the top, or something like that. Somebody asked me a while ago, have you ever thought about doing a bloopers reel? And I've thought to myself, no.
Have you not?
No. I have, but like to a much lesser degree of all of the kind of stuff that does go wrong and all the rest of it. But then people, say, your passion and all the rest of it. You should see some of the outtakes of this stuff, because I do want to get that passion across. I do want to get that energy across, because what I do in my workshop, I am passionate about. I've only found this passion, I guess, for sharing my knowledge and content and all the rest of it in the last few years. I mean, I haven't been on Instagram for 10 years or something like that. I've only been on Instagram for a short while in relative terms, and YouTube for a few years before that. So yeah, I guess I'm really chuffed that when people say that to me about, it's you're just so enthusiastic about it. Well, I think that's why I enjoy most people's content. It's certainly why I engage with your YouTube content, because, what you do, your passion for it, and how you come across is why I watch what you do. Right. And that's, where you're talking about when you came on my radar, and it was equally when I came on your radar through, others in the sort of know on the bike scene, like, Stu and Alan, Ewan and co, that's how I get to know you. And I was like, and then I, went into a very dark place for a while on YouTube, just consuming all of your content.
You're my viewer. Thank you.
Oh, right. Yeah, you might have got a little boost in your viewings for a while. So yeah, coming back to this, the sort of question of where did this all come from? I've always been practical. I've always been a practical person, and being in a sort of time-served engineer all the way up through into where I now sit in sort of management and so on, I've always maintained and retained those skills of making stuff, and it wasn't till many years ago now, I guess, that I thought, just start sharing this content on YouTube, or I wondered if it would help somebody out, because I see other people doing that, and I'm thinking to myself, well, when I need to know something, I don't go to a library anymore. Nobody does that. They just open YouTube. Up just open up their iPhone, jump on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. So it is that kind of, I've got a problem here, I'm going to fix it. I wonder if anybody else would be it would be useful for. So my very first video I ever put up was changing a lamp, a front headlight in an Audi, my S4 Audi. And it's like mad now, it's like over 100,000 views, which is huge for me. But it's like, it was a shocking video, but it's clearly helped somebody else out. And I get messages to this day on that. And I thought, oh, well, there's something in this then. So, and that's where it all kind of sparked off from. But the have I always been practical? Have I always had these skills? Yes, and definitely from being a practical engineer, learning the tools, learning the trade. I was an air conditioning refrigeration engineer for many years in a van, rocking around the whole of Scotland, fixing shit. That was what I did for a living.
Hang on, air cooling refrigeration in Scotland. Is that not just a window? Just open the window.
Just open the window. There you go. Problem solved. I'm slightly warm today. Open the window. Take your jumper off. That's exactly it,
I can't see many Aberdonians paying for air conditioning.
No, it was, so yeah, I started off, in the refrigeration game. So I did supermarkets. So all the big sort of cold rooms and cold stores and stuff like that was what I did. for many years. And so having all those practical kind of skills, and then life takes over. So you get into, house bashing and, all that kind of stuff to make family homes. And you just, but I've always done DIY because of my father, and I attribute a lot of my kind of engineering brain and my skills to my father, because he was always that DIY tinkerer kind of guy in his workshop doing stuff to the house, So I was always right by his side. What you do, Dad? That thing. Well, son, I am trying to fix this door.
Why? Why?
Yeah, why? Just go away. Just go away. Something. I'm sure he felt like that at times, but I can remember distinct moments in time where my dad would be trying to explain something and I was already ahead of him, and kind of take over almost. He's like, okay, my job here is done. You can now manage this sort of thing,
Yeah.
So I guess that's where it all kind of has stemmed from. And then in latter years now, it's all just these kind of projects that come up that I'm going, yeah, I just want to do that now. I just want to make this. I want to do this to that extent or whatever it is, So, yeah.
Sorry, go on. Apologies, interrupted. No. You're one of these people. I've had people like a bit like yourself on the podcast before, who I look at and go, you make me feel less of a man, because you can do all the stereotypical like man things. Do you know what I mean? Like our generation when you were growing up, like, well, the man's the one that did the sparky work, the carpentry work, the metal work, all that sort of stuff, all the traditional male-orientated things. And you were just expected to do it. Tinkering with engines, you were expected to do all that. And I grew up without any of that knowledge. You know what I mean? It's just, my dad was a quantity surveyor in the oil industry, and he's worked away all the time. So I didn't really, and when he came home, I didn't do what you did. I wasn't welded to his shoulder seeing what he was doing. I was just doing all the old stuff. And I look at you and you can weld, you can do the elect. I was watching the speaker build the other day, that plywood speaker. It's amazing. And you're talking about mucking about with like the electrical circuit boards and stuff. and then you're doing all the carpentry with it. And I'm just like, my God, he does everything. I wouldn't even know what to do with it. I'd just be looking at it going, what?
The Swiss Army knife of makers. Like, but that's it, though, isn't it? I mean, but my skill sets are completely different to your skill sets. But what you do, I can't do. So, that it's just how life works, isn't it? And I get to that kind of same conversation with my daughters or whatever when they're like, yeah, you just press this button and it does this, and this digital stuff, all that kind of magumba.
Isn't that infuriating when they do that? My son does it. I'm just slow it down. What did you do?
You've done all that stuff, though.
That's the thing. I consider myself quite tech savvy, but like the way I sort of do stuff is archaic to my son. My son just looks at it and go, why would you do it that way? That'll take you 5 seconds. Do it this way, it'll take you 1 or 2. You know what I mean? I'm just like, what have you done? Like, what was that you did? Show me. But the bugger won't even do it. He won't show me. He just goes, don't worry about it. Like, no, show me.
No, show me. I want to know. Yeah. So I guess, when you're talking like that, I it's like, well, yeah, I've got all these other things that I can do, but it doesn't definitely make me less of a man than it does for you that you can do all this other stuff I definitely can't do, So
I can crash motorbikes. Yeah.
Yes, you see, very manly.
So for the uninitiated then, those who haven't come across your stuff yet, it takes the form of, well, you seem to have two. You seem to do a lot more on Instagram stories now. I noticed on your YouTube, it's like a year old, I think, the last YouTube vid you did.
Yeah.
But certainly on your YouTube, it takes the form of like a time-lapse style. You'll introduce something that you're going to do, and then there's like a time-lapse style showing basically sped up steps of what you did in order to achieve the end result, and then you'll give a wee synopsis at the end about what you've done. That's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of morphed and changed. Like, if anybody's here going to go and do a deep dive into Man Cave making YouTube, literally, there's 6 videos. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not going to take you that long. There's not very many there. And if you look at the very early stuff versus the sort of the later stuff, there's a different style and all the rest of it, because, you know, I wanted them to become, you know, a lot more polished, a lot more professional. You know, I changed, you know, camera and sound and, you know, doing all this stuff and then editing and then trying to do, you know, engaging stuff. And, you know, and that's why YouTube for me has slowed to a, you know, glacial pace, because it's the time involved in making what I want to make to the standard I want to make. Just takes so long to do. Plus, like on Instagram, it's all on your mobile phone type of stuff. It's all in that vertical format where you just speak to the camera, turn it around, kind of blah, 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 and it's done. Whereas YouTube's on the 16:9, it's, you know, it's all that stuff to kind of contemplate with. And it's just like, if I do all of the other stuff I do on Instagram and edit it on YouTube, then there's a potential crossover there, but it wouldn't be to the same standard. It wouldn't be the same thing, you know? So
I would say,
I guess,
sorry to interrupt. I definitely think, just from like an outsider looking at your content, the Instagram stories format really, really fits you, like your brand, your character, because you are very animated and you are like, we're doing this and we're going to do that, and that just fits so neatly into modern social media, because, you know, people don't have an attention span, do they? So they need it punchy, quick, animated, and your stories are brilliant. You know, that they really are good.
Oh, thank you. I don't think I've ever kind of associated the two together in a different format, because they are. I've never had that distinction before. Nobody's kind of linked those two to say, well, YouTube is different to your Instagram. Your Instagram is this, the YouTube is that. And I guess that's, I'll kind of think about that later on, maybe, and just think, well, is there a crossover there? Is there something that you could do on that YouTube space? Because I really do enjoy the YouTube space. It's just a different thing. And the style that I got is a lot more long-winded. And I've been accused of times of, you know, monologuing and things like that, because it is, you know, instead of that punchy, short kind of interaction stuff, you know, which I much prefer. And that's why I do a lot on Instagram, because it is that visceral type of bam, 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 it's done, punch it out, you're done, awesome, get your interaction, start talking to folk, start having a bit of banter, and then you're done, right? Okay, cool. Whereas the YouTube thing is the massive, big, long process. You know, you're talking hours of footage for 3 minutes of video. You put it out there, it bombs, or you put all that effort in, and you get
it's soul destroyed.
Views today. Woo,
I know. It is soul, especially for me. Like at the moment, I'm doing a lot of trip-based content, just because I've not done it in a long time. Obviously, we were all locked down with COVID. So I've got all this content from trips that I managed to get away and do in the various breaks of throughout lockdowns. And now, like, one of my sponsors, they have the Slovenian wing. Well, now they want the videos out so they can start marketing for the summer traffic to come to them in Slovenia. And those trip videos take so long to edit, like literally 4 or 5 solid days. And as you said, I know they don't get anywhere near the views that bike stuff gets, like bike reviews and things like that. And it is soul destroying, because especially sorry to string this out, I'm waffling now. Especially when you have a series of vids. If you have one or two in a tour, they tend to do well. The views will generally hover around the same for them. They're okay. But I've just done one with 6 episodes in it, and you can just watch the first 2 do quite well, and then it just goes. And the last one, you might get 4 people watching it. And you're like, a week's work.
You're like, just go all this different.
I know. Just give me a bite to review.
Yeah, so that must be very frustrating, you know what I mean? So going back to your comment on the style of YouTube, I always wanted to do instructional type of informative videos rather than entertainment, on YouTube. Yeah. I felt that, there's space enough for everybody, and it depends on whether you want a platform to grow from or earn money from, or, all that kind of stuff comes into play when you're talking about YouTube, Instagram to a lesser extent. But all I really wanted to do with YouTube, and I still stay true to that, really is just getting information or getting my knowledge out, and then hopefully sharing that with somebody that wants to use it for something that they want to do. Gotcha. Similar, the same, or can take some system process that I'm showing and apply it to something else, So that was my whole aim out of the YouTube thing. And that's kind of different to my Instagram stuff, but similar. So it kind of ties in my head, but I'm glad that you've said that, because that kind of like goes, right, okay, well, if I did some shorter, kind of more punchy stuff on YouTube that fits with my my process that I want to get out there, then that might also fit,
Definitely. Well,
it comes down to time.
It all comes down to time, doesn't it? YouTube's now, obviously, it's promoting its shorts heavily at the moment, which I think are they 30 seconds? I think the shorts are like 30 seconds in length, or maybe a minute, possibly. They might do a minute. I think
it's a minute, and YouTube's Reels are 30 seconds. Is that right? Or is it the other way around?
That's right. Sorry. Yes. That's what I was meaning, was YouTube's attempt at like TikTok or Insta story type thing. Yeah.
So I might work with that. I think I've done one. Yeah, I've done one short. And because, again, I'm not entertainment. It's very.
But you
difficult.
are, mate. You are entertainment. No, but genuinely, you are. It is an entertaining and educational sort of format that you have. Maybe you don't realise that, but it is. You yourself are entertaining. You're engaging. Just your mannerisms that engages the viewer for sure. And then the stuff that you create, it's visually like outstanding. You look at it and just go, my God, that's amazing. But because you're documenting the whole process, you're almost, you watch it from conception right through to birth almost, and it's amazing. It's awesome to watch. I love it. I genuinely love it.
So we've messaged each other and spoke with each other offline, and through those messages, and I always kind of, you've been honest to say, like, would you stop doing this, because my missus is going to catch on, and she's start asking me to do these things, so stop it, But I really appreciate that, I really appreciate I appreciate anybody that reaches out to me and just says, thanks for sharing this, or what you're doing is great. It just encourages me to do more of the same. So yeah, I'm never very good at taking kind of, the kudos. I'm a bit sort of shy when it comes to that, because it's like, oh right, okay.
I know exactly what you mean. It's. I think anyone that turns around and goes, yeah, I deserve all of that. Yeah, I would probably distance myself from something like that for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Right, where you stop having beer. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, 2 more cans. Right? Do you know what? I'm fucking bee's knees.
Actually, I am.
See me. I'm
awesome.
Great.
Just great. Just put me down as great. So,
right, dude. if you've seen the format of this before, I tend to whack out on my socials to say, such and such is coming on the podcast. Leave your questions in the comments and off we go. So I always start with my Patreon, and then we've got Instagram and Facebook as well. I'm going to try a slightly different format this week or from now on, in the sense of normally I do my sort of sponsor readouts after the podcast. I do them privately, and it's only for the audio format.
Right.
However, I think I'm probably doing some of them, the sponsors, as disservice, and it should really be in the video format as well. So rather than me just like cutting from us chatting to one of me filmed at another time going through my sponsor blurb, are you all right if I just sprinkle it throughout the whole chat?
I think absolutely, just go with whatever you need to do, my friend, because Bruce, sponsorship when you're at your level and that thing is such an important part of the whole process. You know what I mean? It's how you support the whole thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So absolutely,
appreciate it. And I mean, I kind of take the point of view as, there might be someone that you want to chat about in some of them, or I don't know, whatever. But anyway, I'll go through it. So I'll just do one at a time, folks, so you're not having one big blurb. So we'll do the first one. It's only a minute. First one is Inov. Now, Inov sponsor the main TeapotOne channel as well. They specialize in the dash cam systems, the front and rear cameras that you can put on your bikes. I've got the flagship K5, which is a 4K system at the front, a 1080 at the rear. They do the K3, which is 1080 front and rear, and I think they might even still do the K2, which is basically the K3 without a remote and external microphone and all this sort of stuff. Folks, if you've ever been involved in an accident, you will know the first thing your insurance asks you is there any CCTV? And I had a horrific period a few years back where I had like 3 or 4 accidents in the space of about 2 years in and out of work. And I didn't have any of my cameras running at all at the time. And I got stung for at least 2 of those accidents. So now I've got this system running. It's totally autonomous. The second you turn the ignition on, it's there, it's working. It's even got a parking mode. So if you've parked the bike up and walked away, it's still on standby, and any movement of the bike, they automatically kick in, and hopefully, as long as whoever's responsible is in front of either of the front or rear cameras, they'll capture who that was. I've been contacted by a couple of people now, actually, where this has saved their bacon. They've ended up in an altercation. The other parties claimed that it was their fault. They've gone to court. They've produced this evidence, and it goes entirely in their favour. So anyway, if you want to find out more, head to Inov, which is innovv.co.uk, inov.co.uk. If you want to buy anything, if you use the code TEAPOT, TEAPOT, you will get 5% off of any of their cameras. So any of the Inov cameras, any of the Techalogic, and there's also, I've forgotten the name of them, but they also do like a car dash cam type system as well. So any of them, any of the cameras, you'll get 5% off with the code TEAPOT. Massive thanks to Inov for their support. Right, I'm back to you, mate. Apologies about that.
Not at all.
Right. How about we crack on with these questions? Because I know we all think alike, and no matter how many questions I've got, people will be asking the same type of questions, and we'll just see where it takes us. Yeah. Right. So first off, over to Patreon. So it's patreon.com/TeapotOne, the clan. First one, Chris Jones, Tallboy Rides. If you could go back in time and be the inventor of something which we now use as a part of our everyday lives, with only the knowledge and skills you have, what would you invent?
Holy moly, what a cracker!
They go straight in, deep, straight away.
What a cracker of a question. So I've often thought about this, but it's actually right in front of me, and it's the simple ring pull.
Really? Right? Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Because if you actually look into the history of the ring pull, the actual maths involved in piercing a hermetically sealed can is mind-blowing, right? And the amount of work...
I love the way your brain works.
And the amount of work that went into actually coming up with a ring pull, which we don't think about anything. So all cans, everything that you've got now for these ring pulls, that for me would be something that if I had come up with that concept or invention, I think I would be the proudest person ever, because it's just one of those things that is just mad scientist stuff, because you're taking an aluminium hermetically sealed thing and be able to open it with your fingertip.
Wow.
The force of your nail opens the can.
My God, I'm never going to be able to look at a can in the same way ever again.
Have a little look on Google.
I am.
The maths involved in actually coming up with all of this. So there you go. That was...
Who invented the first ring pull then, and when was it?
I have absolutely no idea. None at all. I can't remember I couldn't remember for the life of me.
That's a pub quiz question.
That is a definite pub quiz question. Yeah.
You're going to want to Google that, folks. Google it, because believe you me, one day that will come up in the pub quiz and you'll be like, oh, bollocks. I wish I'd looked that up.
Damn it. So do you also answer these questions, or is it just me?
I can do. Sometimes they're directed purely at one of us, and other times it's open to oh God, for me. Oh, gee whiz.
He's just put you on the spot now.
I know. With only the knowledge and skills you have, well, that sort of limits it quite a bit.
That was the bit I probably didn't answer, is the knowledge and skills. The knowledge and skills I have is that, yes, I can work with metal. I can definitely work with some of the maths involved. So yeah, I think it's within my wheelhouse, but yeah, I think that would be where I would be with that. So yeah, I maybe didn't pick up on that piece of it.
God, I'm genuinely stumped. Knowledge and skills. What would you invent? Well, it doesn't exist at the moment, and I'm crying out for somebody to do it. But it's a simple action camera like your GoPro. Yeah. So that has the modern capabilities. The stabilization that the modern GoPros have got is amazing. The resolutions that you can get, frame rates you can get, they're all absolutely amazing. Yeah. The one. Well, there's two things that hold them back. One is reliability. The firmware in them just isn't. It's not. It's inherently unstable. You always get corruptions in your files. Sometimes it just freezes on you. It's a pain in the arse. And the other thing is the audio input. Like for me, I have a microphone in the lid, just a normal lavalier mic. Yeah. And then the input from that mic is just a normal male 3.5 audio jack. Yeah. And in the old cameras, you could just plug that straight into a camera. It just had a simple female 3.5 mil audio jack. Well, since about 4 years ago, they've got rid of all that. And now you have to have all these various different stupid adapters, which are just a massive pain in the hoop. So could somebody just invent a GoPro style camera, please, with a 3.5 mil audio jack straight in it? Simple. I mean, it sounds, how easy is that?
Sounds easy, but
nobody does it. Nobody does it anymore. So could somebody please do it?
It's going to it's the Apple ethos, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is, get rid of the jack plug in all iPhone products, so that you have to buy AirPods or some other Bluetooth speaker, or it's
totally.
Like, what?
It's infuriating. It really is infuriating.
Madness, I tell you.
First world problems. There's poor buggers living in blooming tube stations at the moment, getting bombed, and I'm moaning about a 3.5 mil audio jack. Yeah, so let's not get into that yet. Anyway, we'll at least have a few more beers before we sort the world's politics. Before we start
calling Putin. No, sorry, I won't go there.
Next question.
Next question.
Cheers for that, Chris. Thanks very much for that question, pal. Next one. Ollie Rye. Hi, gents. Hope you're both well and glad to finally see you're back in the podcast game, Bruce. Cheers, Ollie. Thank you. Apologies about the delay. Question. What is your most satisfying creation that you've made? That was going to be one of mine.
That was going to be one of yours, was it? My most satisfying creations. So the most satisfying creation, or the most proud creation, which is also satisfying at the same time, is my workshop stool that I made a long time ago. There's others that are up on the list as well, obviously, but my workshop stool has to be one of those that is just such a satisfying thing to have done, because I sit on it every time I'm in the workshop, and it's really comfortable. It's adjustable. I can do everything from it. And it was one of these things that has catapulted me through all sorts of other things. So it's opened doors to me to other worlds that I didn't know existed. Wow. And there's a beautiful story behind that stool. So I, as always, share everything that I do on the feed, that I give out everything. So my stool on YouTube, it's got a link in the description that takes you to the plans for it, so you can download the plans for it and all the rest of it. And I don't know whether we've got time for this, but anyway, so we've got so I made the video, uploaded it all, and I love my stool, right? So that was enough for me, right? But then I get an email from a guy called Dylan about, must be 18 months at least after the cause, saying, I made your stool. I went like that. It was an email coming into my inbox, in my Man Cave Making's inbox. And I was like, I'll click on that attachment. Oh, what is that? Clicked on the photograph. Poof, up pops 15 of my stools in a technical college in Missouri in the USA, who have made my stool as part of their class project for their year out of this technical college. And then now I'm embroiled with the technical college, and I've got a great relationship with Joe Candela, the professor of welding there. And, I speak to them, and all of that could not have happened without this one video that they came across and went, I'm going to make this guy's stool. So they made them for the whole class. They made them for the whole school, So, and it's just like that for me, just like completely just melted my brain. It was just,
dude, that for me, that is what social media should be used for. That's positive sort of impact that it can have on the world, on everyone around the world. I think it's incredible. And then you have the polar opposite, don't you? Unfortunately, but the positives I think are amazing. What it allows you to do.
Yeah, and I just always remark back to that process of me just thinking, because I needed to make one. So I made my stool. I was thinking, well, somebody else might like to make something like this, and so I'll just put it out there. And
brilliant.
I think for me, most of the things that I put out there are just putting out there. I just put them out there and see what happens, because I just love it. I just love what I do when that kind of idea comes in my head, and then wow, this whole thing is now generated out, and I get emails and I get invitations to stuff, and and it's just this beautiful type of organic thing that was created just because of one simple video thing that I needed to make one anyway.
I've said this so many times on especially on the podcast now. I've become a real hippie these days compared to what I was certainly in my younger days, in the sense of everything was black and white for me before. Right. I would say certainly up until how far are we in? We're 40 minutes into the podcast. I'll mention it. Up until the world trip. I think right up until that point, everything was black and white for me. It was just logical and bang, 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 bang. There's good, there's bad. There's good people, there's bad people. Blah, blah, blah. That's just the way it is. I didn't entertain spirituality. I didn't entertain like things that you just can't compute. Anything that wasn't logical to me. It was just daff. Yeah, get out of there.
Magamba, rubbish.
Absolutely, yeah, and definitely in the last few years, I don't know why, but I've just become. I just think things things happen sometimes that you just can't explain, can you? And
No.
the whole yin and yang and the whole karma thing. And I think if you put positivity out there, you know, if you do good, if you're just good and you put stuff out for other people, I just think it comes back. It has a way of coming back to you. Okay, you'll get the odd kick in the nuts, but it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. If you take the kick in the nuts as a negative, then you know, because some people pay for that shit. You know what I mean? So you know,
I've seen some videos. Yeah.
It's all perspective at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day. But yeah, I think I totally agree with that principle of you know, putting stuff out there and being positive and trying to do good. I think good comes back at you more than the kick in the nuts.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I've never classed myself, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I'm quite a spiritual person, if that kind of, and spirituality has many guises and for many different people in different mindsets, you know. So, so I feel you there with when you come back to that in recent times. So do you class yourself as a spiritual person, or do you class yourself as more thinking about how you are within the world?
I definitely think I'm becoming more spiritual as the older I get. I'm not religious, but even you know, the thought of there being some deity up there, you know, someone way out there who's built all this, the logical side of my head, every part of my brain just goes, don't be ridiculous. You know, we're just a freak chemical, physical reaction. This is just what's happened. But then there's other parts of me that just go, just the way things have worked out and happened through my own life, things that I've experienced and seen and just not endured, experience. That's the best word. It just makes me think, there's got to be more to this. There has to be more to this, you know. I don't know. It could be wishy-washy. I don't know. But I definitely find myself questioning it a lot more and being a lot more open to all manner of different things.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't say I'm like a full-on believer in lots of different things, but I'm open to it. Yeah,
and I think that's me as well. I think I'm very open to that fact, and I class myself as quite spiritual when it comes to that kind of thing. But like you, I'm not religious, but I really respect people that are.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's where I come back to this kind of love is love, you know, kind of idea that it doesn't really matter which way you choose to express that out in whatever form you want to. It's still the same kind of thing. It's still that kind of love is love.
I kind of I think negativity and hate for sure is toxic. You know, I find myself sometimes getting into quite a negative frame of mind for generally it's financially. Genuinely it's because I'm really in no man's land for me at the moment, having jumped from the old bill to being self-employed. I've never been in this world before, and I hate the financial insecurity side of it, you know, because I'm not at a stage where I have excess money coming in every month that will allow me to sort of build a battle fund up. I literally cover my outgoings pretty much every month. That's it. You know, I'm treading water. And although we've just gone through COVID, so I didn't expect anything else. But it's like I find myself feeling quite negative sometimes. You know, when you look at the bank balance towards the end of the month, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, all I need is for one or two links in the chain to not come through next month and I'm foobarred here. And I can feel you start spiraling. It affects everything. You know, it affects my creativity in terms of what I'm going to create and the videos that I'm going to do, my productivity. It just affects everything. And you just, once you flip that and you start having a positive mindset to stuff, the phone starts ringing. I get emails through from people going,
something else is happening here.
It's incredible. Yeah. I don't, there's no logic to it.
Yeah, that's where that comes in, isn't it? It's there's definitely something else at play here. It can't just be.
Yeah. Or is it just that now you're in a more positive mindset? Are you more open and receptive to possible like business ideas, or are you just in a better mindset to make use of any opportunities which perhaps you might not have identified before when you weren't in the mindset? I don't know. That's the logical part of my brain going.
But that's so true. So my daughter, my youngest daughter, I've tried to instill in her the power of yes.
Yeah.
Right. Just the power of yes. Instead of saying no, it's just the power of yes. And she's taken that and run with it. And it's brilliant to see some of the stuff that's now coming back. Whether that is just her saying yes to stuff, or whether that adds to the positivity, and then that opens those kind of conversations. I can't tell you, but it's that same ethos of just, if you put yourself in that position, if you go and put yourself out there, then don't shut it down. Don't, limit yourself to that. The power of yes is, it's the world for you. You can just, anything can happen, So
there's actually a good, sorry, apologies. Go on. Sorry, I'm keep interrupting.
I was kind of going to empathize with you. Last year, the year before last, I was made redundant at the end of the year, and that was by mutual agreement. And I took 6 months out, and I was lucky enough to take 6 months out, and I decided that I was just going to. What my wife said anyway, you just want to dick about in your workshop, don't you? And I said, yeah, I think I'm due some dicking about in the workshop. So I took 6 months out. But I can empathize with that kind of feeling of, I don't have this job, I don't have that income, I don't have that stream of income coming in that I can rely on. That then, like, I've worked all of my life, all of my career, I've always worked. I've never had a period off, and this was the first time I did that, and it felt so weird, so strange. And it was that, I don't know whether I like this. I don't know whether I can deal with this. In fact, I don't know whether I'm that person that can be,
with the freedom.
Like with the freedom.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to be locked down a little bit more in terms of that career kind of financial burden thing,
Totally relate to it. Yeah.
So I can feel that empathy for that story, because it is that it's a brave person that can truly just go alone and go it and just go, you know what? And I love that ethos of your whole persona on social media is, live your life,
live your life.
Go and just do it. And I'm hunting for that so bad.
I have to constantly remind myself of that. And I have, sometimes I have a little, like in the podcast, I have a little moan like I just did there. And I get people messaging me afterwards and going, basically saying exactly what you've just said there. And at the end of it, they'll go, and as someone once said, live your life. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do. you need to put up or shut up, really. Do you know what I mean?
Fucking damn it. Why did I see that? But I love that. And I think that's why I'm drawn to you as a person, and your content is because that's the ethos behind what you do and it all comes from that beautiful story with your mum, and it just went straight here, it went straight into here, and it was so beautiful. And I was like, that, what, that is such a mantra for life, just go do it. Just go live your life, go live life. And it's like,
she was a clever woman, my mother, I tell you, very clever woman.
yeah. But she also brought it up in you and instilled it in you in your heart, you know, and that's what you're following is that heart and that dream, you know, and it takes huge guts to do that. And you know, more power to you and kudos to you. And
thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's a beautiful thing to hold on to.
I'm the one that's all shucks now. Just stop it.
Right, next question before somebody starts dying. Right,
Mark Fulcher, there's the next one.
I'm going in the fridge for another beer.
Good man.
Because it's literally just there.
Brilliant.
Didn't want to get too far away, you know.
Right, next one. Mark Fulcher. Help me, ducks. Lovely to see that the podcast is back. More time well spent in the van hiding from the wife. Cheers, Mark. So, a couple of things to have a chat about. Quick one for Gus. What's the most satisfying weld that you've ever done? Mine was not having to get the grinder out. Shit welder, great with a grinder. Right. Most satisfying weld.
The most satisfying weld. Anything that I feel proud enough to share on social media is my proudest weld. So I remember, I think it's on my story somewhere. I think it's deep down and in my feed. And my daughter came home one day and she was like, "Dad, there's a problem with my car." And I was like, "Really? What's the problem?" "It's making an awful noise. I went over a bump and it's making an awful noise." Well, essentially what she'd done is ripped the exhaust off from the hanger.
Oh, no.
and it just ripped it and it can't leave it off. And so I repaired that with a weld. And actually it was like, holy shit, that's like Stack Times. I mean, that's like Instagram where they said, "Took a photograph of it and put it on my feed." so there you go. That's a definite proudest moment.
but isn't it weird that welding, some welds are a piece of art? Like some of them you look at, I have no knowledge about welding. I couldn't tell you how you do it, but I look at some welds and just go, that is beautiful.
Just, wow.
Yeah.
You know, I weld. I class myself as being able to stick two pieces of metal together.
Yeah.
but you know, Instagram, you know, weld porn stuff. No, I am not that person. You know, that can make decent welds, but they don't particularly look great. But I'm all right with that. I'm not one of those guys that have spent, you know, hundreds of hours in a welding seat, you know, perfecting the art and, you know, do all that kind of stuff. That's not my game. But I absolutely love it to watch somebody, with that skill and what they turn out. It's just like a. So, not to get the grinder out, you, my friend, are welcome in my workshop anytime.
Right, second question he's got. Can someone please explain to me why dog owners or walkers go to the full extent and effort to pick up a said bag of shit and then hang it in a tree? As a dog owner, this really pisses me off. I'm totally with you, Mark. It really hacks me off when people do that.
Yeah, I don't understand poo tree jewelry. I don't understand it. Why people then decide that, is it because they think, I'm going to go along this track, I'll hang it up and I'll get it on the way back and then forget about it? Is it just absent-mindedness? Are we going to go with the positive here, that it's just absent-mindedness? But no.
I think they're just pig ignorant.
Dickheads.
What I don't get, and we get it here where I walk our dog, is they'll go to the effort of bagging the shit and then they just leave it lying on the ground. I'm like, well, surely you're better off just leaving the poo lying on the ground then, because at least it'll biodegrade, won't it? Whereas if you've got it in a plastic bag, it's stuck there. Yeah. I don't get it. Anyway.
I don't get, sometimes people are just arseholes.
People are awesome. Fucking idiots as well.
It must be my accent. I said awesome. Sorry.
No, they are arseholes. Putin. There we go. There's case in point at the moment. No, but it's true, isn't it? People are capable of some of the most incredible acts of humanity and kindness, and also the most incredible acts of stupidity and downright evil against each other. It's just nuts. Anyway, that's deep. Yeah, let's not get into that.
But deep over poo. Great. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly, over poo. And the last part Mark said is we're not discussing the rugby. That'll be a certain Calcutta Cup match that was played fairly recently.
Yes.
What a game. What a game.
You know, what a game. two up, in the saying goes, you know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
2 for 2. What a salad, huh?
Yeah. Let's not mention it too much because...
No.
Yeah.
No, we certainly wouldn't want to alienate the audience.
No. Right, next one. Harley. How's it going, guys? All good. Cheers. Just a
Fine,
simple one. Could you survive in the wilderness for a month? Oh, bloody hell. Ooh.
Right. Yes.
With nothing, no tools, nothing.
Oof. Well, that's a different qualification. You're
Okay.
just adding stuff now. Right.
Okay. So just you're out in your motor. You have an accident.
Yeah.
You get knocked out. You wake up. And there's nobody anywhere near you. You don't know where you are. The car's not next to you. You're just what you had when you were like out driving your motor. Could you survive for a month?
I don't know whether a month, but I could certainly survive. So I've done quite a few of these things already in my life. So I've been a Cub Scout, a Scout, a Venture Scout, a Venture Leader. In my life, I've done outward bound stuff. I've done sort of survival stuff. I've done that kind of stuff before. So I've got some skills that I know that, one of my favorite pastimes as a kid was bivvying, going into the woods, shaking a bivvy up and just, covering it in ferns. And, I could definitely build a fire from gall, I could do that thing. Am I Bear Grylls? No. But, I think I would have a reasonably good chance of survival. Whether or not I could last a month, I don't know.
Yeah. But I think getting a fire going would probably be my biggest challenge, because I did an outward bound course before I went away on my trip, and if you've seen the video,
where did you go? Which outward bound did you go to?
Well, it was a mate of mine he's actually ex-regiment, he's actually ex-SAS, so he'd started up this sort of hostile environment training, and he said to me, look, some of the places you're going, namely parts of Africa, he was like, if anything goes Pete Tong, you're going to have to be on your toes, quick, sharpish, and you're going to have to live, off your wits and off the land until you get yourself sorted. So he was like, I'm doing a little course, come and do it. You can do a vid if you want to do it. And it was the basics. There was a bit about escape and evasion. So like how to last as long as you possibly can on the run with dogs after you. Obviously you're going to get caught. And then it was to give you an idea as to what will happen when you get caught. So you get a little bit of a slap, nothing major. And obviously they don't violate you or anything like that, but you end up getting blindfolded, and they basically, what they do now is they bury holes, they dig holes and bury you underground rather than keeping you in a building or anything like that. But anyway, so I had to learn the basics of laying traps, gutting rabbits, preparing food, building a shelter, starting a fire, all that sort of stuff. And my fire starting was pretty much non-existent. So I think that would be my biggest challenge. The rest of the stuff I think I could get by. Yeah. The rest of the stuff I could probably get by. I think I could. I don't relish the thought of killing animals and gutting them and all that, but you know, I can do it. I'll do it if I have to survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, cooking them is going to be a challenge if I can't get a fire.
Yeah, that could be an issue. Raw rabbit. Yeah. That'll last you maybe a couple of days, but then after that, no.
Yeah, I'll be digging up the potatoes and carrots. Mind you, I can't eat raw potato, can I? Raw carrots. No. I'll just be Bugs Bunny. I'll just live off the carrots. Right, so I think I fancy your chances more than mine, to be honest.
I think I'm on the fence with a month. I think that's, yeah. I think I would like to think that I would have a decent go in, but again, it's one of those things, until you actually get chucked in that situation, I think you might struggle to comprehend what's actually happening. And, you know, I think that would be quite a challenge, but I think if I had none of that experience, then it would be an absolute, no, I'm going to die tomorrow.
It's interesting. My son, right? My son's 24 now, and he's got right into wild camping. He lives up in Glasgow, and he's always going out camping, but he doesn't take a tent or anything. He literally just builds a shelter and does it all. And I was like, what's that all about? Because he hasn't, he wasn't in cadets or military or anything. And he said, I just want to be prepared. I was like, what do you mean be prepared? And he said, I just want to know that if I have to, I can survive. I was like, survive what? And he was just like, anything. If it comes to it, and I have to. Well, it's that sort of stuff. And I was like, well, what you mean then? And I was like, are you a prepper? And he said, no, I'm not a prepper, but I am making sure I'm ready. And I was like, wow, this is not something I'd ever heard about with my son. We'd never discussed it. Turns out he's got a bug out bag. Do you know what a bug out bag is? Yeah. He's got a bug out bag ready to go in his flat, and he'll carry it in a rucksack when he's out and about. And I was like, that's a little bit weird for a
that is
for a 24-year-old.
It's quite preppy.
Yeah. I was like, are all your mates like that? And he was like, no, they all think I'm insane. I was like, oh, okay.
You're like that. But
what? I bet he's sat there now going, bring it on. Bring it on.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's one of those things, isn't it? You think to yourself, well, fuck no.
Yeah. Right. I'm just not even getting to that conversation. Let's not go down that route. Next one, Charlie Callard. How you doing, Charlie? Evening, gents. Hope you're both well. Glad to see the podcast back. Been getting brew time withdrawals. Cheers. I have as well, Charlie, to be honest. I've missed this. So here goes. You wake up on a Monday morning, roll over to check your phone. There's an alert message saying time has stopped and almost everyone has frozen in time. Oh, I've seen a video like this. What are you going to do first? Well, like I said, I've seen a video along these lines. There's a number of Japanese videos like this online.
It really depends on who you're sleeping.
Straight around to Kellybrook. Anyway. Right, we'll put this over to you. What are you going to do if time's frozen and you're one of the few people that's not been frozen? What would you do?
It's like, what would you prefer?
Devil, angel.
A duck-shaped foot or a foot-shaped duck? It's like, what are you talking about here? So if time stood still, and is time coming back? Like, I don't know. It's like, if time stood still and you're forever stuck in that time moment, so it's like Groundhog Day, is it? So,
no, I think he means like everything is just frozen in time. So like everybody's just frozen on the spot, but you can still move around. I'm assuming.
So then you just get really mischievous and start putting people in all sorts of weird, wonderful positions in case they start waking up. You know what I mean?
Again, there's videos like this online.
Yeah, there is videos like this. You know what I mean?
But you get bored of that eventually, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And I guess you have to find other people that maybe aren't frozen. But then you could play tricks on them, couldn't you? You know what I mean?
Give him a heart attack, then that's one less person that's alive.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, what did you die of? I was frozen. All right, what did you die of? Heart attack from him fucking scaring me. You know,
some fucking idiot pretending he was frozen.
So yeah, a weird question, and I'm not sure how to answer it.
Very.
Other than I would get mischievous first, and then get bored really quickly.
I think I'd get a little bit seedy first, and then mischievous. And that's all I'm going to say on that matter.
Yeah. Okay,
Kelly Brook, I'm coming.
We're very similar. Great question, Charlie. It's a good question, Charlie.
Yeah, it was Charlie. Yeah. I'm going to end up in jail now. Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Stuart Bailey, you receive a phone call from Bruce inviting you to a clan meetup. That's something we do on Patreon. Like everyone that's on Patreon, I do. Generally, they're weekend meetups. We'll post up and we'll vote what part of the country we're going to go to, and we go there en masse on the bikes and have a big ride out, and then like stay over in a hotel and to get pissed, basically have a crack. So you're invited to a clan meetup with a promise of lots of beer. Unfortunately, it coincides with your wife's birthday, which you're expected to be home for, but your partner's friends will be there who you don't get on with. So your wife's mates are going to be there and you don't get on with them. On top of that, you have a work deadline which is due the following day and which you're already 2 days behind on work. How do you prioritize and who do you let down? Oof. So do you come to the clan meet? Do you hang out with your missus and her mates that you don't like, or do you just crack on and get your work stuff done?
So this is one's relatively straightforward for me because first and foremost, if the clan meet and I was, a huge biker and all that kind of stuff, then I'm sorry, but I would just talk to my wife because we've got that great relationship that I would just talk to say, look, I don't like your mates. You know I don't like your mates because I would have already told her that I don't like her mates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she would already know this. She would have probably already said, just go with Bruce because you won't want to be with, Janice because she's a knob and you don't like her. And I'll be like, you're right.
Sorry,
thanks
Janice.
very much to you. So she doesn't know Janice. But and work, well, work can get
Good man. Good man.
So,
good man.
Yeah, I'm all in for the meat and the beer and the crack. You know what I mean? That sounds amazing to me. The 2 day kind of, because you're a data man and you like processes and stuff like that, you might resonate with this anyway. It's very unusual that I will be 2 days late for anything, so that's unlikely to happen. So I'm definitely going to the clan meetup.
It's interesting. I'm the opposite. I'm almost always. Maybe I might not be late, but I always leave stuff to the last minute. I'm terrible for it. I put stuff off, and then it's like it has to be done, and then I'm just like, whang, let's get it done now.
Why is that? Is that pressure that you like working under pressure, that you like working to the deadline, or how is it that comes about?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I used to think I worked better under pressure, but I've found now in my new role, as a video creator, video editor, I'll say.
You struggled with that. I love that.
Yeah, because I don't
content creator. You're amazing.
But I don't class myself as that. I kind of. I don't know. I don't know. I'm really struggling with what I am and what I do at the moment. I don't know what it is I do, and what am I providing people? I don't know at the moment. It's weird.
I think I know. It's the content creation. It is that whole process from end to end, from entertainment to information to content to the creation to everything that goes along with that. You could be classed as an artist.
I've been called a piss artist a few times, for sure. I think I genuinely do. I think I work better under pressure. Certainly when there's a deadline coming up, it sort of makes me focus a lot more. And I find I become much more productive, because when I don't have a deadline, I just sort of float along, really. And, I'll spend a couple of hours doing a bit of editing, and then, next thing you know, you've spent an hour looking at blooming sharks at the moment on TikTok or Instagram. I seem to be fascinated with sharks and lose hours of my life just watching them on videos. But when there's a deadline and it's like, right, this has to be done, I get shit done. I get it done then. Yeah. But I don't like being in a rush. I don't like the thought of, oh my God, I've got to get this done. Yeah. But I seem to work better that way. Under that deadline pressure. Yeah.
So my eldest daughter, she's all about the lastminute.com. Like, everything is last minute, but she works so much better at that level of everything is bunched to the end, Our degrees have all been, bunched towards the end of, everything is just really stress head, but it is that it's just her. She just prefers that kind of process, whereas I'm not like that at all. I far more planned and kind of like, right, okay, I know I've got this to do. I'm going to get that done now, and then I can do this other thing, and then that happens that way. And if I'm late for anything, there is something deeply wrong.
Right. Yeah. I seem to be one of. I'm the two poles. I'm either early, daft early for stuff, or I'm like running late a lot of the time. It's nuts. Even meeting up with my mates to go on a bike, like we'll plan to meet up at 10, and they all know that I'll rock up at like 10 past, quarter past. It's just
that's not too bad, Yeah, that's not too bad, as long as it's not like half an hour late or something like that.
Well, that has been known as well. Yeah. Right, good question, that one. That was Stuart Bailey. Good one. Right, we'll jump to a quick sponsor readout. We are also sponsored by the Influencer Store. This is a bit of a readout, folks. The Influencer Store helps you build your brand, big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come and check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Now, folks, Influencer Store, they handle all my merchandise. So if you've been to TeapotOne.com, if you've bought any of the T-shirts, is that Nationals T-shirt? If you've bought any of the T-shirts, what? Man Cave Makers?
Show your nipple.
They handle all my merch. So that is the Influencer Store there. If you have any issues at all with any of the merch, drop them a line online at influencerstore.co.uk, or if you've got your own brand, your own website, your own channel, and you're thinking about having some merch or some sort of brand identity thing going on social media, drop them a line. Tell them TeapotOne sent you. Right, next question is Justin, Geek and Cycle. Hello, gents. I hope you're both well. All good. Cheers, Justin.
I actually am today. Thank you.
Excellent. Gus, you obviously find inspiration in places and things that others either don't or can't. Without giving up your secrets, what makes a piece of whatever more than what it is currently? Ooh, good question.
That's deep almost. I mean,
it is.
So the example that instantly jumped to my brain there was an example of me being on holiday and seeing something that then inspired a build.
Lamppost.
A lamppost.
I watched that yesterday, I think it was.
So you're the one person that's watching my content. So yeah, good question. And the question is visceral for me in terms of how it works in my brain. So most of my stuff comes from functionality. So functional art is what I make and what I do. It always has an nth degree. So it always has to end up as something. It's not usually just an object. It usually has some kind of function to it. And I was looking for, so I bought this English wooden vise, this big, huge vise, and I needed a stand, I needed a pedestal. And I was racking my brains, and I'd seen all of these kind of really janky kind of, I-beam type, car wheel type shite things. And I was like, that's not me. I'm not building that crap. I'm like, no, I want to make something that is this functional piece that, so I couldn't think of anything. And I was thinking, and I went on holiday, and lo and behold, I walked down this street and I saw this lamppost, and it was just like, oh my God, that's beautiful. And also that's my vice stand right there. And it just popped out to me. And that was when, so there's photographs of me literally on the street like this with a lamppost. Because this was the idea of me going like, this is where this came from. Because I knew that as soon as I saw it, it was like that pop moment in my brain that just went, I can see that working as a pillar of how I make it up, and then I can make that. And that whole holiday, as soon as I saw that, my nighttime kind of process that I go through. So you might know this or not, but I spend a lot of time thinking, and I'm an insomniac, so I don't sleep great. But when I wake up and I'm thinking about something, it just instantly comes in, and I engineer stuff to death in my brain. And that holiday, I can remember just blissfully in the darkness in my hotel room. Mrs. is sleeping. I'm like, this is just amazing.
Just plan it all.
I just plan it all out, all because I saw a bloody lamppost on holiday.
Brilliant.
So, all of these things, that's that pop that comes from something that it's a lamppost, but it can be something much more. And then it became the pedestal. And then that morphed into the pedestal build that then went, what can we do to elevate that pedestal? Okay, well, we're going to add in the sort of grilling to the side, and all that can be a copper, and that would be actually better brassed up, and then I could add in the nuts, and then all of that stuff just came together like that. And that's how my brain works, and that's how it worked, and that evolution of that idea, all from that one place of it's a lamppost. Mm-hmm. Now it's something completely different.
So are you very visual with your creativity, with your ideas? You see something, and then from that it gives birth, or do you sometimes, does it just pop into your head? You've not seen something that's triggered it. You just know in your head that this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So I would say almost always it's a visual input to something that triggers something else that is that I can trace back where that idea came from. And I think that's the mark of anybody that makes something is what inspired you to make that? And if they can't tell you, then that's a really weird place to be for a maker, because you kind of should be able to tell you what the lineage is of that idea generation, because for me, it's always about where it starts, what came from that. So if I give you another example of the speaker build that you mentioned earlier on in the podcast, that all came from me consuming Michael Arm's YouTube on pattern plywood, and then my wife having a janky, horrible Bluetooth speaker in her workshop cabin thing in the garden, and me going, Christmas is coming. Oh.
The Aberdonian in you. Oh.
Two ideas collide, boom. And that's where that idea came from, right. and that whole process all came from, I really want to do pattern plywood. There's a problem that needs to be solved, I think. whether my wife wants it or not, she's getting this Bluetooth speaker. but lo and behold, that's when then this brain of mine kicks in, and it takes over for months on end when I'm engineering this to shit in my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh god, I gotta get some sleep, And,
folks, you've got to check out the Man Cave Makings YouTube. You've got to check it out anyway, but have a look at this patterned ply Bluetooth speaker. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful what you create. Gorgeous.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Bruce. Really do. So yeah. So to answer the question, yeah, that's something that was just that lamppost, and then came into something else. So I've
always been very envious of creative people. I don't consider myself creative at all. I've always been a good copier. I always thought I would be a good forger because I could. I was into my art when I was very young, sort of. I would say up to my mid-teens. I was right into drawing, and I could take a picture and copy it, and do a reasonable effort at copying it. But if someone was to come to me and say, right, can you draw me a picture of, I don't know, a landscape, a countryside landscape or a city landscape, I wouldn't have a clue what to do. But give me one and let me copy it, and I could do a good job of copying it. I've always struggled with coming up with ideas myself, if you know what I mean. It always felt a very laborious process. And I was so envious to watch other people who you could literally just see the creative juices oozing out, musicians and people like that, and they just do this stuff. I was just like, that's amazing.
So I feel that I'm not that person either, so
really?
I'm not that creative. No, I'm always needing some kind of input to that creative process. I'm not the generator of ideas here. So if I hadn't seen that lamppost, for instance, so that is something that exists. Right. The structure is the same. I've essentially copied how that works and applied it to something completely different. You see what I'm saying? It's not that original idea, but I'm taking something that exists and applying it to something else. And that, I think that's more my style, is that, I envy sort of there's some big maker names that I envy all the time, because they are those people that come up with those mad ideas that just then create this amazing content, and I'm just like, how do you do that? How? Because I would love to be more creative in that way, that have those more original ideas. But then listening to you, but those ideas are kind of original. But to me, I'm like, well, I needed a start for 10. Back in the day of I needed something to start me off as. No, yeah, totally get the nucleus of the idea. Yeah, what I tend to find with my video editing now is that, I mean, it probably doesn't come across, but I don't want to be a sheep. I don't want to be one of the flock, and I want to be different. Do you know what I mean? I want somebody to be able to watch a video, one of my videos, and go, well, that's Bruce has done that. Or, it's got my style, but I don't know if I've attained that yet. Well, from an outsider, right? So I'll class myself as that outsider because, I'm not a biker. Okay, I've had bikes in the past, and I've ridden bikes in the past. I don't own a license. But I watch your content, because I enjoy what you do. You know, and you definitely, for me, you definitely have a style. You definitely have I could definitely tell you apart from other people. And I like that interaction. I like the way that you present, and I like the way that your videos flow. And I've always said, you know, to other people that follow you and you know as well within the biker community that I speak to regularly, you know, that's Bruce. That's, you know, that's why we watch, is because of that content, because of how you actually turn up. And
that's nice. Thank you.
So, you know, you're telling me about my style, I'm telling you about your style. It's kind of a two-way chat, but, you know, you do have that engagement. You do have that as a brand. You know, we definitely could tell your video against somebody else's. Oh no, that's Bruce. That's the style.
Well, that's nice to know, man. Thank you very much. Cheers, Gus. Cheers. But the whole reason I was, I think, coming down that line was that I going back to the copying thing, I get inspiration from other YouTubers, but they're not in the bike world. You know, I don't watch that much bike YouTube, to be honest. Yeah. I watch a lot of like standard vlog type YouTube content and the technical review style channels and things. So I find I watch a lot of them, and I look at, you know, it's a difficult one because when you're out on a motorbike, it's a totally different. It's a totally different video than if you're in an office. You know, if I was to do a review vid being in my office, then I can control the lighting, I can control the coloring, I can control the sound. But when you're out on a bike, it changes. You know, it's a dynamic environment. It's constantly changing all the time, isn't it? But I tend to find what I do now is I look at how people are editing and what transitions they're using, and you know, just once you know about, do you know about J cuts and L cuts when you're editing?
Yes, I've heard the terms, and I know what the basics of editing because I've done some of that within.
Of course, right. So you can overlap audio, or you can overlap the video. You know, depending on how you do the cut. Yeah. And I found, like, now I'm aware of that, and I do it myself. I can sometimes identify in some vids, and I look, they've done a different timing, you know, rather than like 3 frames or 6 frames that they've used. They maybe go for 12 or you know, a full second overlay, or they cut it really short, but it's just enough to trick the mind. And I find myself, I pick up on those little things and then think, I'm gonna try that in my vids. Yeah, and just see. But again, it comes back to that copy side, doesn't it? You know, it's me looking at it.
I do that as well. I do that for my Instagram. I do that for you know, there's loads of people that I follow that I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to try that. I've got, you know, like I probably don't have the same kind of software as you do because I'm cheap. Yeah, so
Aberdonian.
Aberdonian. so I'm feeling Highlands, but you know, there's so much you can do with editing, and I often look at people that I review and then go like, oh yeah, I've got to add that in, and I've got to do that little thing, and or that little trick, that little kind of cutaway, that you know. Transitions to me are like, they're gold, like they're absolute gold. And some of the people that, you know, so in the bike world, you know, like that I consume content on would be people like 46 Works. If you've never seen 46 Works motorbike builds, Japanese guy.
46 Works.
46 Works.
Right. Okay.
It's art. It is chill. It is vibe. All motorbike build stuff. It is just like, oh my god! Just can I be that guy? You know, I mean, it's you know, it's that kind of stuff. And the way he edits and the way he puts his videos together, Oh, it's just like it's just so chill. I just want to sit there all night drinking beer and watch it. Like it's.
Oh, this is another channel I'm going to have to check out.
Oh, if you don't know, then you're screwed, mate. Yeah, and I love the fun stuff as well. You know, I love the fun kind of editing kind of stuff. So one of my videos on my spider build that I did, my pumpkin spider build, that kind of cutaway kind of like idea, and you know, I picked that up from another video I watched, and you know, like, oh, I've got to try that, and then it took me literally 5 days just to do like 2 edits cuts. You know, it's like, oh my god.
It's going to be like half a second actually on screen.
Half a second worth of transition, and I'm like, oh, this is so hard work. Yeah, I totally get it.
Right, next question. That was a good one, that, Justin. Cheers, pal.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Justin.
TJ, Shady Lane. Evening, gents. If you had to create one thing to improve Bruce's life, what would it be?
To improve Bruce's life.
Wow.
Well, because I don't know Bruce's life that well, out with the silver screen, as I say,
That's all it is.
Then it would clearly now be a 3.5 jack that can fit to a GoPro.
Do you know that would make me a happy man? That would make me a very happy man, Gus.
So yeah, that's about the only thing I can come up with, except for some kind of is the beard. Like your beard is renowned as awesome. I mean, it's just got awesome status written all over it. Is there anything that your beard does that you don't want it to do that we could invent that something for?
Cool. It gets a bit annoying.
It can get personal quite quickly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I was going to say, when you put something in your mouth, it gets caught and comes in with it. Yeah, we'll draw a discreet veil on that. Yeah. I'll settle with the 3.5 audio jack. That'll be good.
There you go.
Right, last one of the Patreon questions. Are you okay for time, Gus? Because I know we've been like an hour and a half.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah.
Last one on Patreon. Jason Smiley. So it's Naked Race Day, and there's only 2 events left. Race 1, full speed lap at Cadwell Park, knee-down speeds, mind you. I will allow gloves, boots, and a brain bucket, but apart from that, naked. Race 2, quarter-mile foot race with my 10-stone Mastiff and a stake tied to your tackle. I'll give you a 20-second head start. You have to pick one, so the real question is, knees or nuts, right? Wow. I mean, this kind of sums up my clan, really, isn't it? A question like that. We've had ones that have made us discuss the meaning of life, spirituality, and is there an all-seeing being out there? And another one, naked racing, knees or nuts.
So this one is definitely for you. Because I can only really talk to one element, which is probably I would go with foot race, purely because I would get about 3 yards down the road and fall off my bike. So.
Well, I would have to go for the bike race because there's no way I'm out running a dog. Mind you, it would have a look at my nuts and the steak and go, I'll have the steak.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Wouldn't even
exactly
notice my nuts.
The steak is actually doing me a favour.
And if it's cold, you definitely won't notice my nuts.
If it's up here, you're not going to see my nuts, so it's fine.
Yeah, the Mastiff will be all right. I'm not biting that lady. No way.
That's exactly. I don't bite ladies, so.
Yeah, I think I'll go for the naked foot race as well. Actually. Cheers, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. That was good fun.
Right, we'll move across to Instagram. But before we do that, we are also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. There's a readout for this. Ultimate Add-ons are the premium manufacturer of mobile phone and action camera mounting solutions for motorcycles, with a kit for any bike and a proven track record of creating products that keep your devices safe, secure, and easily accessible. The Ultimate Add-ons product range is ideal for it. For you know this one, folks. If you listen to the podcast, you've heard it. Ultimate Add-ons, they do loads of different mounts, like cases for your phones, all different types of phones. They're waterproof, they're shockproof, they're dustproof. Great little systems. Then once you've bought the actual case for your phone, you then have to get some sort of mount for your specific, well, not for your specific bike, but they do like yoke mounts, the ones that go into the stem on your bike. The one I use personally is something called the Helix. The Helix Swivel mount, I think it's called. It's in the pedal cycle section. It's not in the motorbike section. But that is the one I recommend. Been using it for almost 5 years. Not had a single issue with any of the vibrations affecting the camera. I know other people have with other different types of mounts. I've never had one using that. So I'd always go for the Helix strap mount and then whatever case it is you need for your phone. Again, head to ultimateaddons.com, use the code TeapotOne10, so TeapotOne with the number 10, and you'll get 10% off. Right, across to Instagram. So this is at TeapotOne Insta. Right, first question we've got here is Kilted Bushido Builds. How you doing, Al? Hiya, Bruce. My question to both of you. What is the biggest positive that both of you have gained from the negative of the last 2 years? Ooh.
So
okay,
you know Alan, and Alan is very much a very good friend of mine, and
nice guy.
I get on really well with Alan, and I know where he goes with this. I know where he's going with this, but for me, it is the same thing as we've talked about between us many times before, and that is actually connectivity. So most people have said in shutdown that they found very isolating, whereas I haven't. I've felt more connected to people because you're making more effort with the relationships we've got, and also finding new kinships with people. So my relationship with Alan, for instance, from Bushido Builds, is all developed during lockdown. Yeah. because of the social media, because of all of that. So my biggest positivity is around that friendship, around other people that I know and have built relationships with during that lockdown period. And I see the negative, but I choose to elevate myself towards the positive, which is around more connectivity and more specifically around the people involved and who I've been speaking to and forming friendships with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm sort of very similar because I started this whole podcast. I started literally just after lockdown first came in. And the podcast has been, I've genuinely missed it. The last couple of months when I've not been doing it, I've missed it because it's quite cathartic having this.
Well, because
you get to chat. And with the greatest respect, we don't really know each other. We know each other via, so we are like chatting away amongst strangers, but you talk about all manner of different things, don't you? You can get quite deep in this, and I perhaps have conversations. Absolutely. Yeah.
Two trees to divine interventions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I find you have conversations in this podcast that I probably wouldn't have with some of my closest mates, and I'll discuss stuff probably that I just wouldn't chat about really with my mates most of the time. Yeah. So I definitely find a positive of lockdown has been, as you said, connecting with lots of other people in a different way than I perhaps normally would have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that I totally resonate with that.
Yeah, and I think it's. Sorry, go on. Apologies, go on.
No, it was just that whole kind of because it's different, because we're in that lockdown bubble, because of that, we're forced to do something different. And that all goes back to psychological kind of inputs of when you're forced to do something else, you choose to do the path of least resistance. But on occasion, you get to have that flourishment moment of, wow, this other thing has come of that consequence because I've had to do it this way. Whereas I've always done it that way over there. But now I'm having to do it this way. Look, oh my goodness me, there's this other world that's opened up to me. And I think that can only come from some type of pain along the way, that you've had to change your perspective or change your view or change the way that you interact with people. And that was lockdown for so many people. And,
definitely.
That's can be a negative, but also has huge positive upsides to that as well.
It's made a lot of people, hasn't it, reprioritize their own lives, what they find as important, and what they need to be spending time on in life. Because a lot of people were just work focused. That was everything. Everyone's just chucking. I get to the office as soon as I can, and I'll spend all my time in the office and blah blah blah. Where I think, because people have been taken out of that environment and almost rediscovered the joys of having a life, and people have gone, hang on a minute, there's things I want to do here. So,
and do you feel like there's a flip side of that now? So now that COVID's over, obviously,
what's COVID? It seems to have been forgotten about.
That's all that shit. But yeah, because that's now, that other side where actually people can return to an office environment, can return to the normal-ish life, whatever that looks like. There's now that resistance against that. There's that kind of thought of going, well, actually, I don't know whether I want to go back to that.
Yeah.
That other life that I used to really hold on to is so important. And now, I hear conversations around, certainly the office that I'm in, is that there's difficulty about bringing people back into that environment because of that now awakening to, there's this other life that I can't have now, and I can have actually 2 years. If it was 2 months, it would have been just switch on, switch off, would have been come back to normal. But 2 years, that's a really long time to be in that process of doing something completely different. And then, hang on a second. That's actually, there's a benefit from that. And there's, life will never, from my perspective, life may not ever return to pre-COVID conditions for a lot of people.
Exactly, and as you said, because it's been 2 years, companies put in practices and processes to allow people to function in a work capability, a work environment, so people are able to do their job that they used to do from home, remotely, or maybe only doing 1 or 2 days. My wife's a prime example. She's a copper in London, but she actually works from home now because she's moved to an office environment, and they suddenly went, well, you can't be in the office because of COVID, so you'll have to work remotely at home. And now all of a sudden the job's gone, oh, well, you can do this job at home, right? That frees up a little bit of office space, which we can turn into lockers and give people more room within the building. So it's like she doesn't have an office to go back to anymore. And she loves it. She's absolutely loving it because she's working from home. And as long as the work is done, there's no argument there, is there? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Will there be the mass exodus back into the cities? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, really.
Yeah. TBC. Good question, Noel. Thank you.
It was. Oh, and his next question: tatty scone or square or both? So tatty scone, square sausage, or both?
You just won't catch me with a tatty scone anywhere near my being. They're the work of the devil, honestly.
Do you know? I didn't know about tatty scone or square sausage till I moved to Glasgow. I went to uni in Glasgow. I didn't grow up with tatty scone or square sausage.
Square sausage has always been a thing for me, but I mean, but tatty scones, Gods, no. What would you be doing with that? I mean, what's wrong with a hash brown? I mean, come on, seriously.
yeah. Hash brown wins for sure. Yeah. But I do like Tatty Scott, I've got to say. But,
mental.
Yeah.
It's like brown or red. You know what I mean?
Aye.
I mean, come on.
But I'm trying to think, what was our thing growing up? Oh yeah, Butteries. God, Butteries. Oh my God, they are just. I mean, it's heart attack stuff, but they're amazing. So basically, they're like a pastry made out of butter, which you then heat up and cover in butter. They're just awesome, aren't they?
It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, did you know that one buttery is equivalent of 9 bags of crisps?
Is it? Seriously?
For salt content, yeah.
Jesus, I could have about 6.
So yeah, me as an apprentice having 4 butteries for breakfast probably didn't do me any good.
I think they're like 1,000 calories or more in each one, aren't they? They're insane.
Yeah. Literally, I could eat a buttery from probably 2004 and be perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're amazing. If you've never tried them, folks, get yourselves up to the northeast of Scotland and have a buttery. Oh man, they're awesome.
God. The crispier, the better.
Oh, God, I'm so hungry now. Jesus, I'm hungry.
So good.
Right, cheers to that, Al. Next one. There we go. Remotorcycles, Struan. Awesome. Look forward to that. Can you ask, where do the ideas and vision for the builds come from? Well, we kind of covered that. And also ask why he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, Struan's a knob. He's a dickhead, and I don't like him very much.
He is one strong beast of a man. Have you seen his videos?
Yeah.
Jesus, suffering. That boy lifts some weight.
He does like his weights. So yeah, I think we've covered some of that question already in around, usually it's a functional piece, but Struan's been to the workshop a few times now because we just live very local to each other.
Okay.
There's only a few miles of difference between us, so he's been to the workshop a few times, and he's had a good introduction to lathe work, mill work, and I think he wants a shot of Welder next. But I said to him, it's beyond you, mate. Don't worry about it, because he literally can't weld for shit.
I mean, your two sort of studios, your workshops couldn't be more opposite. Because I mean, he literally builds in an outbuilding, isn't it? A stone outbuilding. And
his workshop is a single garage, a stone built single garage, and his gym is literally a stone shack.
Yeah,
it's just with timber. It's like the most grimy, grungy sort of back street kind of gym.
It looks like it should have some cows and pigs in the corner.
Because he likes all of that really soft metal stuff that he plays all the time. That really kind of airy-fairy crap. Death to the world. He loves all that stuff, but that just fits in with that whole kind of.
Yours look like a professional sort of TV studio now. It looks amazing. You'll get up.
Well, no, come on.
Oh, it does, man. It looks amazing. It looks brilliant.
But yeah, Struan, I often tease Struan about his lack of ability to weld.
He works offshore as well, doesn't he? He's in the oil.
Yeah, he's in the oil. Yeah, he's he works in extended rotation. So yeah, he's currently offshore just now. Actually.
Right.
Yeah. He won't have internet connection, so this will come through in like 3 3. So it'll come like as a bit beat from him. So it'll be like because his connection's so bad offshore.
Say what you like, then. Say what you like.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Yeah. Fuck you.
Right, cheers for that, Struan. Next one, Bungie HRMV. Bruce, loving the podcast as always and really enjoy being jealous of Gus's builds on his Insta story. Me too. My question to Gus is, have you planned a new wood-based build with a hidden built-in hollow section which you're going to fill with fecal matter so that when the inconsiderate prick at US Customs go randomly drilling, they literally end up in the shit? Right, what's the story here? I've missed this one.
So I did a charity raffle in memory of my friend Laura. Who committed suicide. Part of the prize fund was a mallet made by James over at #Woodworking, and James makes stunning mallets out of the rarest of rare woods, materials, and all this stuff. So he gave me a mallet, his very first square-headed mallet. Which is Nicaraguan Coca-Cola head with an ironwood handle with a bronze transition. This thing is just like, if you're into mallets and if you're into woodworking, this is like, wet dream territory. It's like, wow, this is amazing. So Lindsay Creative over in the States won this as part of the raffle, and I sent it off to her, and she received it with holes drilled through it because so it transpires that we think that the US Customs to find out that it wasn't containing drugs drilled with a drill right the way through the center of both the mallet head and the handle in two different places and completely ruined the whole piece. So has completely fucked the mallet, completely. I mean, ruined it, completely trashed it. So that it's a horrible thing. It's really horrible because so much time, love, and support have gone into the actual event. Not only making that mallet, so James, it was his very first square-headed mallet he ever made. He put it up for this raffle. Lindsay had never won anything before. Has followed James for a very long time and myself, and this whole thing is just now totally unwound, and it's horrendous. And now we're in this horrible battle with parcels to go. Who are doing everything in their powers not to pay out on their insurance. So I insured the whole package from end to end, and they're just now, they're becoming so obstructive with trying not to pay the insurance. Means that James is going to make another mallet and send it to Lindsay, but it's the whole story. But the beautiful thing, so I'm going to end on a beautiful thing here. So in Japanese culture, when something breaks, they try and stick it back together, but they put a gold leaf or a gold colour through the glue that binds it back together again. Now, you'll have seen bowls and crockery and all this kind of stuff with this gold kind of line through it, and that's usually because it's been repaired. And what that ethos is that you're proud of its journey, it's proud of its lineage. It shows it's been lived, and it shows that not everything that's broken can remain broken. You can fix it, and then you can be proud of the scars that it carries. And Lindsay has just done that with this mallet. She's got a way to go and fill these holes in with this gold resin that then will always be part of the story of this mallet that is transitioned across the waters to her.
I love that, man.
Experience, and then you just have that story. And it's a beautiful way to end a really negative perspective on a positive, to say that, you know what, there are positives to come from that, in that I've got a creative person at the end of the journey that can take something repair it, or not even repair it, just make it whole again.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll always carry that battle scar that can always be told as a story of remember that story when, and it's that, that is such a good thing. That is such a good.
That's a beautiful mindset, isn't it? It's a beautiful philosophy to have that. I like that. Yeah.
And for me, that is even more compounding into the story of my friend who passed in that, whenever that story is told, it'll always go back to the charity raffle that was won in that brings it back to my friend, and it's just like, that brings me great joy. That brings me great joy. But parcels to go can get fucked, essentially, is what I'm saying.
So we're definitely not going to be sponsored by Parcels to Go. You can do one. Right?
No, they can definitely do one. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I hope you do get a good resolution on that with Parcels to Go. But I like the ending to the Holy Mallet story. That's
the
fantastic.
Holy Mallet.
The Holy Mallet.
I'm having it. The Holy Mallet. It's like The Life of Brian or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that piece. I'm having that.
Not the Messiah.
He's a very naughty boy.
Naughty boy. Martin Riley, does he fancy cutting some sheets of ply? What's this from? What's this come from?
This must be to do with either the current build I'm doing for my daughter, which was inclusive of just cutting lots of ply into strips of wood, or my pattern plywood project. And the pattern plywood project, oh my God. If anybody has a notion to go and get after pattern plywood, know one thing. It's a journey, and you've got to be in it for the long haul. I'm telling you that now.
Because when you documented that build for the speaker on YouTube, I mean, it looks, I mean, it's like probably an 8-second sequence where you just got all this amazing ply, this like layered ply, which you chuck in some sort of jig thing, cut it at, was it 60-degree angles or something?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's this amazing, beautiful patterned artwork. And it's just like, oh my God, that looks stunning. But yeah, when you actually think about it, it's like there's probably weeks of work gone into that.
Honestly, but it's honestly, it's so time consuming. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I think I started late September building this speaker box for my wife's Christmas, thinking that I had plenty of time. And I gave it to her in the new year of the following year.
Seriously?
Because I was 2 weeks late. Literally, that's how long this thing took.
Bloody hell.
And this wasn't like, an hour here, an hour there. This was like every weekend for months, solid nights, evenings. It was just all consuming. It was just mental. But yeah, it's just what you do. I think
it's seriously like maybe an 8-10 second sequence in the video. Wow.
Yeah, maybe I should have made more of that. Damn it.
Right, next one, George Kerr. Great to hear that the pods are coming back. I have a question. Gus, I think we've covered it. How do you come up with these weird and wonderful creations? Do they pop into your head, or is there more planned? Whichever it is, it has to be said, the quality is second to none. Bruce, did you tell Gus about your world trip? Cheers, George. Thanks. I have actually, yes.
Yes.
I think we covered that, didn't we? How do you come up with these ideas?
Yeah, I think we did, yeah. I think we already covered that.
Cheers anyway, though, George. Thanks for your question. Carpin Matt. Quick fire questions, because we know you suck at them. Yes, I do. Right, here we go. First one, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Yeah, me as well, coffee. Milk first or last?
First.
See, I don't take milk in coffee, but if I make a cup of tea for the wife, milk first, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why do you put milk in first?
But Bruce, what do you do to make a cup of tea Yeah, I put the milk in first as well.
Mm-hmm.
But do you float the tea bag?
Float the tea bag? How do you mean?
Yeah.
What's that? Leave it in there?
Oh, no. What? About to. So you take a spoon and you float the tea bag on top of the milk and pour the hot water over the tea bag and let it infuse while it comes up. And then you leave the tea bag just sitting on top without touching the milk for a couple of minutes. Take the tea bag out and mix the whole lot together, and you have a perfectly stewed cup of tea.
What? So the tea bag never actually goes into the milk and water.
So as you're pouring the hot water over the tea bag,
you raise it up
above. You're just lifting it up as the water rises.
Uh-huh.
And then you leave the tea bag, and the tea bag will float just neatly on top there and infuse. And then once the infusion has happened, you take the tea bag out and you then mix the milk that is underneath that in with the tea that is above there, and you make a perfectly brewed cup of tea.
Shit the bed.
Shit the in bed.
Right, I'll be. My wife's out at the moment, actually, so I'll be making her a cup of tea when she gets home.
How long
do
you do tea for?
She likes a good strong cup of tea, so I normally leave it for a good few minutes. Probably, I'd say 3, 4, maybe even 5 minutes.
Yep. Yeah. No. So that's my golden nugget of today.
Right. If you take nothing else away from today's podcast, folks, you got to float the tea bag. All right.
Float the tea bag. Float the tea bag. Anyway,
Next
that
one.
Was not quick fire. Sorry.
It wasn't, but it could be worth it. That could be life-changing. I've got a feeling it will be. Beer or wine?
Oh, hello.
Good man. Yeah, me too. I'm not a wine man. Bacon or sausage bap?
Oh, bacon.
Good man. Mate, we're kindred spirits. 6, favourite place in
I
the
thought you
UK.
said sex. Oh, dear.
Favourite place in the UK to visit?
Come on. There's so many.
There is.
Quick fire. That's difficult. Wow. Favorite place. So I probably have to go back to the lakes, the Lake District in general, Cumbria type. It's purely based on childhood, and I've always felt at home in Cumbria. But west coast of Scotland.
Yeah. I was going to say Glencoe.
Yeah, Glencoe is beautiful.
There's something about Glencoe. Just, I don't know. I feel at home there. It's weird. I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah, so I think I feel the same about the Lake District. I feel at home in the Lake District. Purely, I think that harks back to my childhood. But I love Glencoe as well. Just anywhere west coast of Scotland is just bonkers, beautiful, stunning.
It's so different, isn't it? The east, like especially where you are, the northeast of Scotland, Grampian up there, it is so different to the west of Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
They're like polar opposites, aren't they?
They are. Yeah. But you look at Wales versus Norfolk.
Yeah.
Opposite sides of the country. It's two different worlds. You
Absolutely.
Know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's
two different languages. Definitely
sure.
two different languages.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's just northeast. East coast kind of territory, all the way up that ridgeline. Basically, circumnavigates that east-west profile anyway, and you look at that across any part of the country really, and you look at that west coast versus east coast demographic and also geological footprint, and it's completely different, you know.
Yeah, but it's even like Glasgow and Edinburgh, they're only 40 mile apart. You know, they're literal neighbours, aren't they? But polar opposites, like totally opposites. Totally. Glasgow and Edinburgh, they're so different.
Yeah.
And it's people and the accents and
culture,
the culture, the look. The feel of the place.
Jail? The jails are definitely different.
Well, I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Whatever.
All right, cheers for that one, Matt. Next one, Camo Customs. Bruce, can you ask the legend that is Man Cave Makings? Now that Jim Goodwin is Aberdeen manager, does Gus get stopped in the street and ask for autographs? Also, has Aberdeen FC been in touch to employ his services as a looky-likey? Now, I have no knowledge of football in the slightest, so I'm taking you look like him, do you?
Well, so Ross from Camo Customs, as soon as I think Aberdeen appointed him as the manager, was right on to me saying, I didn't know that you were into football. So I've had a few people that says that Jim Goodwin looks like me. I don't see it.
I'm Googling it as we speak.
He is a little bit more handsome than I am. I will concede to that. And probably a little bit younger as well. But, yeah. So, yeah. Twat. Honestly, it's like,
how much had he been drinking when he came up with this?
Yeah. No, Ross, probably quite a lot, to be fair.
You're distinguished in the hair department. You've both got grey hair
and
a grey beard.
We've got some kind of goatee beard going on. Yeah. But yeah, I've got to look less tired.
You got to take the smile off your face. Scowl. You got to scowl. Oh, okay. There. If you look angry, you look a wee bit like him.
I've kind of got to get a bit angry. Anyway, so yeah. Ross, I love you, but fuck you.
Right, that's all the questions on Instagram. We'll go. I think there's only one over on Facebook, from what I remember. There's lots of people saying they were looking forward to it. Before we do that, it's not a sponsor shout out. Well, it is in a kind of way, but this is just from me. This is to everybody over in the clan, over on Patreon. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but without you people who choose to support the main TeapotOne channel and a podcast over on Patreon. Without your support, I simply couldn't do this. Certainly couldn't do it full time for sure. So a heartfelt thank you from me, and your questions, which everybody at the clan gives me every single week for every single podcast. They've become the mainstay of the podcast. Really, I think that's what sets this podcast out from a lot of the other ones out there, is the engagement from all you folks. So thank you very much. And that goes to everybody across all the socials, actually, who bothers to leave a question. Thank you very much for doing it. Right. I better leave a little link in there. If you want to join the clan, head to patreon.com, patreon.com/TeapotOne. And it's from like $1 a month, basically, you can join from. But it's up to you. You don't need to. Right. Across to Facebook. And I think there was just lots of people saying they were looking forward to you coming on. I think the only question was Lee Vigor, who's actually coming on the podcast. Might be next week or the week after. When's Lee coming on? Let me have a look. In a couple of weeks, Lee's coming on. He has a channel called Buddy the Biker Dog. But he used to be, in fact, I think he still is. He's a professional motorcycle test rider. So he's coming on for a chat. Lee's... I mean, what a job! What a job!
What a job title! What do you do? I'm a professional motorcycle.
Basically a stuntman.
Yeah.
Lee's question: what's the one thing you've made for someone else that blew your socks off so much you wished you'd kept it for yourself?
See, I don't make a lot of things for other people. I tend to make a lot of things for myself and for the family and things like that. But I made a series of clocks, and there's been a few clocks that I've kind of let go, that I've gone, oh, that was a nice one. I really wish I'd kind of kept that. But there's nothing that jumps out that I've given away that I would kind of go, oh, there is. Oh, damn it. Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. No. So I made I made some cigar holders for Obadiah's.
I saw them. Yeah.
Out of semiconductors.
Yeah.
And oh my God, what stunning things they are.
Yeah.
And they're only so if you can so just to get somebody's, because that might not know what they are. A cigar holder essentially is, if you can imagine a chess piece, the castle of a chess piece. It's that kind of size, and it's got a dish top to it. So your cigar, whilst you're smoking a cigar, can take several hours or whatever that you do with a cigar. And what you do is essentially you just put it on this holder over an ashtray, and you can come back to it and either light it again or whatever. But these cigar holders are kind of like, you can get them out of all sorts of materials. They're usually out of plastic, but so Obadiah said to me that could you make them if I send you some of this semiconductor? Now, semiconductors are made from copper, and I can't remember that it's Edonium or something. I can't remember the metal, but it's rods that go through it. So they've got this like pattern in them, and I turn these down almost like chess pieces, and
they're beautiful.
Just oof. That's in fact that is it, Bruce. That is the one things that I've given away. Going, yeah, I'd like to keep them. I mean, I don't smoke, but I
do you know? I was going to ask, are you a cigar man?
I do like a cigar. I have partaked in the old cigars, and in recent years, obviously, I'm a keen cyclist, or have been a keen cyclist. I haven't done anything in the last few months, but and I know I should be joining you in your endeavours with your fitness regime.
From Teapot,
join. But yeah, so I tended not to smoke or haven't smoked, but. Yeah, I do like a cigar, but these cigar holders were definitely ones that I've given away that have gone, oh yeah, they're tasty. They are sexy things. But holy shit, I'm telling you, the story that I put up about, these are awesome, this is how I made it, blah, 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 didn't kind of go into the backstory of how awkward working with the material was, and the amount of time that's spent up polishing them and trying to get them to run true on the lathe. It was quite a lot of work, but yeah, I think that would be the one thing.
I remember seeing that in your Insta stories and thinking, cigar holder, what's that? I haven't got one of them. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a prolific cigar smoker. I probably have maybe half a dozen cigars a year, maybe. I'll smoke if I'm having a barbecue outside, I'll have one, or if we're at a wedding, I'll have one. Like an event, I'll have a cigar maybe. But I remember watching it and thinking, ooh, what's a cigar holder? I'll need to have a look at that. Yeah, mega. I was going to ask you something there. Something popped into my head as we were chatting. What was it? Bollocks.
This is where I can't help you.
I've had way too many knocks on the head over the years, and my memory is horrendous. That's why I've always got a bit of paper and a pen next to me, because I have to note stuff down, and if I don't, it's gone. Yeah,
just writing stuff down.
I can't think of it, Gus. Sorry.
Those materials, some of the exotic materials. So I've made some pens. So I make. Everybody will understand what a Bic pen is. Yeah. I've always loved Bic pens, not for the pen itself, but for the way that the pen feels in your hand, the geometry of it. So because
that was another one you did, wasn't it? That's popped into my head as well. Yeah, sorry. Go on. Sorry.
So the geometry of a Bic pen is that because it's got that hex, because it's got flat sides to it, you play with it in your hand all the time, because it's that flick over of the flat side to the sharp, to the flat to the sharp, that you want to play with. And I love that feeling about it. I love that thing. And round pens just don't do it for me at all, because there's nothing to play with. There's nothing to feel. It's just round.
That tactile feeling and the sensation. Yeah.
It's what you do with it, So they say. Anyway, so I'm always thinking about those sort of things. So I took that design and I elevated it to something that I've never liked, the feeling of the big pen in the cup of your hand, because it's like, I like playing with the flat sides of it, but the end of it always felt a bit sort of janky, a bit sort of weird, and it never had a nice weight to it. So I decided that I would make my own big pen. So I did that. And I've made a promise to myself so I bought some tie twist, so it's titanium twisted flat and round stock. And I'm going to make titanium twisted pens, a couple of pens out of this. And I'm going to make one for myself. And I think that's going to be one of these ones that I'm going to hold on to for years to come as, that's the pen. Yeah. If you've ever seen a titanium twisted material before, when you heat it up, the differences in materials that are forged come up with different colors. So have a look at titanium Damascus or titanium twist, and you'll see what I mean by that. So that may be something that I'm going to be doing soon in the workshop.
Interesting.
Makume is another one that I'm also going to make some 2 pens out of as well, which is a brass and copper twist mix as well. So those, and that whole thing came from what I did with the cigar holders. Was I wanted to get into some sexy material, because just made out of steel or aluminium, it's fine, but it's just one sort of thing. But then I made these 2 cigar holders, and I'm like, oh my God, they're just beautiful things to look at, and feel and touch. So that's where this idea of me coming, full circle and getting some more kind of more exotic materials, and then applying that to making a pen, So that's what I'm going to do. But I've got a long list of stuff that I need to make.
Apologies, mate. The dog's whining out there. I think she's discovered the cat.
Well, I've actually the kitchen door here is shut, and I can hear the cat on the other side giving it.
Oh yeah.
I need to go for my nightly ablutions. Like that.
Right, well, that's probably a good point to end the podcast, mate, because she will, now she's making noises, she's start getting loud. Dude, before we call it quits, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Is there anything you want to plug? Feel free, stage is yours.
Well, I don't plug very many things because it's just, so if you want to come and join in my content, then jump over to Instagram. It's where I do most of my content. So Man Cave Makings is the Instagram and YouTube. I'm not on Facebook, but the Instagram is where I'm at. Shout outs are always weird and wonderful because I just value, so if anybody interacts with me, I take great value from that. So if you leave a comment, if you leave some kind of content, comment, you're likely to hear from me, because I feel that's part of this process, you know. So if you want to interact, that's what I'm about. So I really enjoy it. So thank you for inviting me on the podcast. I know this isn't really the sort of, where the podcast usually is, but for me, I really appreciate being asked on, and thank you for that opportunity. It's been great. I've really liked the conversation. It's been such fun tonight. I've had a massive boost from it, so really appreciate it.
Me too, mate. And like I said to you when I said to you about coming on, this podcast it's not just exclusively about motorbikes or adventure travel or anything like that. It's this whole thing is about my live your life mantra. I want people on who are interested and have got a story. Do you know what I mean? And they've got a passion for whatever it is, anything. So I saw you came on my radar. I saw what you were doing, and it was like, you're going to be an interesting chat to. I want you on. So thank you very much for coming on. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Bruce. Really appreciate it, pal. Thank you.
Folks,
and
I will...
Your audience for giving some amazing... So your Patreon, I mean, I was like, holy shit, if this is the very first question you popped up, I was like, holy crap, if this is the level I'm at, I'm in trouble. I'm like, boosted straight from the get-go.
It's a bit of a curse on Patreon because it's almost like every week somebody will post a question which tends to push it that little bit further, so everyone takes it as a challenge and they're like, right, how can we outdo the next one? So you never really know what you're going to get. So kudos to all those guys. Kudos. I always specifically try not to pre-read any of the questions. Sometimes, especially on like Instagram and Facebook, you can't help but have a quick scout through questions beforehand. But on Patreon, I tend not to even look at the post until the start of the podcast, just so I get a genuine reaction as well, same as you. Yeah. So you never really know what you're going to get. Right, the dog is just flowing down the stairs chasing the cat, so I better go and separate them. Gus, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Folks, if you've enjoyed what you've heard and seen tonight, I will leave links for Gus's Instagram and also the YouTube channel. So if you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. If you're watching the video, then check out the vid description down below, and there'll be links there. So make sure you give them a follow and a subscribe and all the rest of it. Gus, thanks so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate you coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I look forward to seeing what other beautiful creations you come up with.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right, dude. Keep in touch, and hopefully, if I ever get up that neck of the woods, I'll give you a shout, and we'll have a beer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Top man. You look after yourself, mate. All right. Absolute pleasure. Cheers, pal. Bye-bye. Bye.